Yeah, mine said 5:45. Maybe. Perfect. Kristen is here. I don't know who Kay is, but yeah, we're good. Thank you. Hi, Kristen.
Hi, Becky. I think we should keep a close eye on tonight, considering what happened in the last.
I am. That's why you had to wait.
Okay.
Susie, we got Zoom bombed at that fire department one.
And Kristen, you seem like you're feeling better?
I'm feeling a lot better than I was before, for sure. I still have some congestion. That's why I'm kind of just staying back here until I'm completely good. So.
Okay. So do we know who Kay is?
Hi, Kay. Could you tell us your name?
I actually know who Kay is.
Okay.
I believe I know who Kay is. Yep.
Hi, Kay. We are just inquiring because we had a Zoom bombing experience.
Can you hear me? Okay, you can hear me. All right, one moment. I'm trying to
We can hear you
get
now,
the
Kay.
kids settled and
Oh, we can hear you. That's great. It was
okay.
just because it was a single name, we were just checking to make sure it wasn't a Zoom bomber. So we're good.
Okay.
We've had some
One moment, we
situations,
get in a
Kay.
better section.
We've had some situations, Kay, where some people have hacked into the system and tried to disrupt meetings.
That's awful. Give me one moment of bad lighting.
Henry.
Much better.
There you go. And do we know who Patrol 2 is?
I bet it's either
Taylor or
Nate. Who? There's Nate.
Okay.
So patrol person 2 must be.
He was Patrol number 2.
Are you patrol number 2, Nate?
Yes, it's on his screen.
Yep, that's me.
Okay, sorry.
Nate, what's your last name, Nate? I'm the minutes taker.
Oh, Massey, M-A-S-S-E.
Okay,
He's one of our part-time officers.
all right. April. Shannon Gamble. Do you know Shannon Gamble?
Hi, I'm Shannon Gamble.
Okay.
I'm in my kitchen. That's why I don't have my video on, but here I am. I'm a Leverett resident and I'm on a police study group in Leverett. So I saw your signs when I was driving through Shutesbury last weekend, and I'm coming on to just hear what Shutesbury is thinking and doing, because we're doing a lot of the same things. We've developed a survey and talking a lot about regionalization. So I was curious to see what our neighbors are up to.
Right.
So we're waiting on Melissa, and I understand she just sent out another email. So I believe Rita Farrell will not be here tonight. She had a conflict. She had something else that she had to attend to. But I know Melissa is on her way. She's just getting I think, a final edit to one of our documents out to everyone.
Just a heads up, I have to leave for another meeting at 7 if this one's not over by then. So
Right.
just want, if I suddenly disappear, that's why.
Okay.
Okay, Melissa's here and so is Taylor. And another person, Patricia Duffy.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Melissa.
Hi. Becky, make me co-host so I can share the screen if I can.
Yes, I was waiting.
Sure.
There you are.
Okay. I'm gonna put the Zoom over here on the side. All right, is everyone here? Do we have a quorum? I think we,
Yes, yes, everyone is here except for Rita on the committee.
Yep.
Well, and Melody's not.
Oh,
there
I'm
she is.
sorry. No,
Yep.
Melody's
Oh, no,
here.
Melody's
Sharing.
Yep,
Okay.
yep.
Yeah, she
Okay.
just came on.
Just gonna make this a little larger.
Okay.
Okay, so let's see. So the first up is to call of order. So we'll open our meeting. We need to decide who takes minutes before we review the agenda.
I'll do that.
Thank you, Susie. And so let's review the
I-
agenda. Oh,
I'm sorry to interrupt. There's somebody who wants to come in with just one name called Odin's Law.
okay. Let me admit him and we'll ask him to what his name is.
Okay, I just said it out loud because last time Kristen knew the obvious ones that went right over my head.
Fine.
Okay.
Well, it is the audio is connecting.
There's nothing there for him to be concerned about. We're very dim. Is that, we could turn on the whole light.
Hi, we are addressing the participant that comes in with the name Odin's Law. Could you give us your full name, please?
Sorry, can you hear us now?
Can hear you. What is your full name?
Yeah, sorry, that was just the name that my computer's registered for. This is Justin and Megan, Vezina. Sorry, I didn't realize
No,
it was.
that's okay, Justin. I'll put your name on there. Could you spell the last name for me one more time?
It's Justin and Megan, and it's Vezina.
Thank you.
Appreciate this. I just wanted to explain, we had a Zoom bombing earlier this week, which all heightens our concerns. So thank you everyone for helping.
A Zoom bombing? What was that?
It's
So
when oh, go ahead, Becky.
Oh, go ahead, Melissa, you got it.
It's when a person comes into a Zoom meeting and plays very inappropriate videos or gives.
Oh,
no.
Yeah.
Okay.
It
No,
happens
no.
less often than it used to when Zoom first started, but it still does.
no, it's just us.
Great, thank you.
Okay, the agenda tonight is review the minutes from, or public comment first, review the minutes from the 9th and the 23rd, the surveys and the survey cover letter, the town's, other towns' police budgets. And there was one other thing on the agenda. I'm looking at the one online.
Discuss survey distribution.
And we also had to discuss the a police on-call option as well. Proposal, thought, an idea. So let me go to public comment. We're going to use the raised hand feature tonight. We haven't done a meeting where this group has all been on Zoom or in one place in a while. So we'll use the raised hand feature tonight. Anybody have public comment? Please raise your hand, or if you're unable to, just let us know. You have a public.
Sorry, how do we raise hand?
Are you on a computer?
I am.
So if you hover your mouse down at the bottom part of your Zoom screen, it'll give you reactions. If you click reactions, it will give you the raised hand option. And it
Oh,
pops.
there it is.
Yep.
Okay. All right, well, I got it now.
So does anyone have public comment before we go on to our agenda items? Okay, all right. Let's go on to our agenda items. I'm going to bring up the edited agenda that Becky did. There we go. Okay. So let's review our minutes from December 9th and December 23rd. I see a hand. Cheryl?
Before we do that, I would like to discuss the minutes template that I sent to you.
Okay, yes, I'm sorry for Cheryl. Cheryl sent me a minutes template that she wanted to put in the minutes discussion tonight. I'm gonna put it on the screen so for us to look at, just kind of in a structure. So hold on one second, let me grab it. I staged it. I think I'm going to share the right screen because you don't want to see everything on my computer screen at the moment. Okay, let's see. Huh. Okay, here we go. I'm going to pop it up. Open now and share screen. I've got two screens, but I got to move it over. I apologize. The dangers of working with two screens. Zoom only recognizes one. Find it. All right. Can everybody see that? Because you've all disappeared for me. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
And see it, yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, Cheryl, do you want to give a little background?
Okay, because of our discussion last week, where I brought up that I didn't think it was appropriate to actually have people's initials and then what they said there, or what the person doing the minutes wrote down as what they said. I don't think that's appropriate in minutes. So I went online and looked at a number of places that have templates for minutes. They all are essentially the same. So I just pulled this one up. I don't even remember what site it was from. If you could move down so that we look at number 6. Keep going a little bit farther. Okay,
You
there,
guys.
that's good. Under 6, it says item number 1 to be discussed, and then put a summary of the discussion around the topic. And so on. And to me, that says that it's a short summary of the discussion, not trying to put in word for word what people said. That should be done if you have a transcript of the meeting. Because if you put in what people say for one topic or part of one topic, the people who are reading the meetings who were not in the who were not actually at the people who are reading the minutes who were not actually at the meeting don't realize that that was not the whole discussion, or that what's there is not necessarily exactly what the person said. And I think it's just inappropriate to put it. It raises the possibility of misunderstandings, where really what the minutes should be is a summary of what was discussed. And if people want to know more, they can go and actually listen to the recording. There, I've said my 2 cents.
All right. Do we want to discuss format at this point, or do we want to save this for another maybe the next agenda, at the next meeting, I see Becky's hand, I see Justin's hand. Hold on one second, Justin, I'm gonna call Becky first.
I think both Susie and Mike had used the initials with comments. I think Susie has done this before. Yeah, because she's quoting other minutes. I'm just suggesting that maybe it's not so much the method that as it was the that the feeling that the person had that they were misquoted. And if that's why we approve minutes, so that corrections to any misquotations can be corrected.
Well-
But I'm just putting it out there. I don't want to engage in back and forth. I just want to suggest that it can be done in a way that works effectively. And if the committee wants to vote on a template, given the fact that we are struggling to have anybody take minutes, I really hope that doesn't happen.
Susie and Mike and then Justin.
Well, I want to talk too.
Because,
Yeah.
because,
One second, Rachel. Sorry, Cheryl. 1 second, Cheryl.
so, because this wasn't on tonight's agenda, I think it's really important for us to stick with the agenda. And so if we want to put it on another agenda, that's what I suggest.
Okay. I'm okay with that because it wasn't fully on the agenda to have a full discussion on it. So I do. Michael?
Yeah, I don't particularly want to see it on another agenda. I think we can take care of this tonight, and I'd make a motion that whoever is doing the minutes, they can do whatever format they find is appropriate. And when we have our review approval of the minutes, if there's changes that need to be made, they can be made at that point. But I don't think we need to change the method that we've been using to do minutes.
Okay, we do have a motion. Does anyone want to second that motion? Okay.
Second.
Oh, go ahead. Becky, I heard you say something. I also heard some electronic noise.
Can I second? I'm ex officio, so I cannot second.
No,
right?
I'll second. I'll second.
Melody is second. So let's open that up for discussion. I see Cheryl has a question. Or-
Can I-
It's not just a matter of whether somebody's been misquoted. There are a couple of other issues here. One is if for part of the meeting, which is what's happened in both the minutes from both of the last two meetings, for part of the meeting, things are put down close to verbatim or what it appears to be verbatim, then that gives the impression to anybody reading the minutes that that was more important than anything else that was said at the meeting. And I don't think that that's appropriate. And secondly, it's not just that somebody might be misquoted, but that if not everything that everybody said is put in there, then things can be taken out of context, or the background of why things are being said as they are is not there for people to hear or see. And I just think that, I mean, I've been on many meetings on many committees during my lifetime, and I have never, ever seen verbatim reporting in minutes, and I think it's inappropriate.
Forgive me, can I?
Yes, Justin, go ahead.
Thank you. I just raised my hand initially. Is all of this narrative available for listening to at any point by anyone else in the community?
Yes, these
So everything that we're discussing now, everything we're saying now, the tone in which we're saying it can all be played back to the public and anyone who's curious to listen to it.
Yes, the
Okay,
videos are.
well, with that understanding, it seems like we're wasting time on a topic which is, if there's any conflict of interest, that somebody had said something in a narrative which wasn't verbatim written down correctly, then this would clearly rectify that. I know I don't have a whole heck of a lot of time tonight, and I would just kind of like to get more into the meat and potatoes of what this actual committee is about. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. Mary Jo or Melody, whichever.
Okay, I'll go. I was actually thinking at our last meeting and the meeting before, that particularly given the fact that it's hard to get somebody to do minutes and the fact that we've got the video, really an agenda with some notation of where to look on the video in terms of time would be sufficient for minutes and much easier. But I also agree that I would like to get the topics at hand.
Yeah, and I also raised my hand because I just think like I've been volunteering for the town now over a year and a half, and I've never had a problem with the way the minutes have been done. And it doesn't, to me, I don't bring that lens to it, so I would never read that way. And I feel like if someone's willing to do the minutes, then if they're doing it in a way that makes sense to them, that's fine with me.
We had that motion on the floor.
Could you repeat the motion, please?
Mike, yes.
As I remember it, it was that whoever is volunteering to do the minutes can do them in any format that they think is appropriate. And if there's any corrections that need to be made, they can be done at the follow-on meeting where we review the minutes and approve them.
That was seconded. So I'll go through any further questions or discussion on that particular topic, and then I'll go through and we can to vote on that. I'm going to go from how I see them on the screen. Susie, you're the first one I can see on the screen.
Closure eye.
Kristen?
Burgess, aye.
Mike?
Binsky, aye.
Cheryl?
Hayden, nay.
Melody?
Chartier, aye.
Mary Jo?
Johnson, aye.
And Makepeace, aye. Did I forget anyone? All right, so we'll stay with the format being up to the person taking the minutes, and we will edit them at the next meeting or at the next time they come up on the agenda. So with that said, let's move on to the minutes that we have remainder. The 9th and the 23rd, they're over here. Do I hear a motion to for the minutes for the 9th of December?
I believe there's a motion to approve the minutes of the 9th of December. If that's the motion, I'll second that.
I hadn't heard one.
All right, I'll make the motion.
Okay. In a second, and then we'll open it for discussion. Okay. No one seconded it.
I
Mike,
second that motion.
you did, Susie. Okay, thank you. I see Cheryl's hand up.
Yes, this took place so long ago now that I can't even remember most of what we discussed, but there were long sections in this where supposedly verbatim words were written down. I know for under the section of prevention, at least one of the things in there that I'm supposed to have said, I could not possibly have said because I didn't even know the information that was attributed to me. And if that's true for something that was attributed to me, I'd be very surprised if there weren't others like that.
Yes, and I remember this is also a set of minutes that I wanted to watch the video in correspondence to, and I know I didn't get a chance to do that. Does anybody else want more time with this set of minutes at all?
I suggest that we just eliminate all of the verbatim stuff in here and just put in a summary of what the discussion was about.
I think we would have to see that and read it to be able to vote on those.
I'll be happy to do that.
Okay. Why don't we punt these, if everyone's agreeable, why don't we punt this group of minutes to the next meeting for review again with some edits?
Could you just clarify to me what Cheryl said she's volunteering to do?
She wanted to volunteer. She was misquoted in the minutes, and she wanted to volunteer to go over them and again, to make some edits to those minutes. And I hadn't had time to review them, and I had wanted to at the last meeting. But I hadn't had time to sit down and watch the whole video. But that's where I'm at, where Cheryl's at. I'm asking the whole group if we could punt these to the next agenda and then see the edits, because we would want to look them through with the context of edits before we voted on them.
I'm fine with postponing the review of these minutes to a later meeting.
Does everybody else feel okay about postponing to the next meeting? Yep. I see heads.
Okay.
Okay. So let's move on to the 23rd. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes for December 23rd?
I make a motion to approve the minutes of December 23rd.
I'll second it.
Okay. All in.
I
do
don't,
you have discussion or edits? I'm sorry.
I evidently did not print mine out, so I don't have them here. I would like to postpone this also for, oh, wait a minute, here we go. Here are the minutes. I didn't really have time to go through this in detail. Or I shouldn't say I didn't have time. I didn't go through this in detail. I would like more time to review these minutes.
Okay. Does anybody else feel that way? I see, Mike, you have your hand up.
I was just had a comment about an entry, but if we want to postpone these minutes, that's fine with me.
How does the rest of the group feel about postponing these minutes as well? Yes, no, Justin says, yeah, I see a thumb up. Anybody else? Okay, why don't we postpone these as well, and we'll put them as the first topic of the next meeting after public comment as well.
Lucy, can I make a suggestion? Can we have discussions of points of order at the end of the meeting? Because I really don't want us to run out of time to talk about the substance of what we're here for. Can we put that at the end of the agenda?
The minutes at the end? We can start putting minutes at the end. Yeah.
Yeah, I just think because then if other people need to leave, they don't need to sit here and listen to this. So I think just out of courtesy for people's time, put that stuff at the end.
Thank you.
So let's move on to the alternative structure of police on call.
I have a question. Where did this come from?
I'll let Mike explain. Mike had asked me to put this on. It was part of the documents that I shared as he'd like to. Well, I'll let Mike take over. He just asked for it to be on the agenda for the group to look at.
Right. I have been thinking about some of these things and came up with an additional model that I think we might want to talk about. However, it didn't appear on the agenda, so I did not think it was going to be on the discussion tonight. So, and Melissa, you just sent out what I had written up just, today or yesterday. So not having anyone, people not having time to take a look at this or understand anything about it. I would like to make a motion
I was
to.
looking at an older agenda with the change in it from the email. So I'm sorry, I'm following that agenda. So I had it on mine here.
Okay.
So we can postpone that until the next one. But Mike, was your intention to have it on the survey as part of the survey? Because we're going to talk about the survey later.
The survey cover letter.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it should be on, if it's going to be a model that we're going to consider or discuss, I think it should be on the cover letter.
Well, then
But
let's
We can
discuss
discuss
it
it
as part of that.
Okay, let's just, yeah, we'll put it, we'll partly add that to that discussion then, I think. And
well, if no one's had an opportunity to read what I've written up, then there's no, we're not going to have a valuable discussion about it.
I read it.
I know I had read through it. Others may have read through it.
I read it.
So why don't we move on to the survey letter and I think this is partly also shows us that we want to move forward with the survey and get the survey out, but we don't want to keep bringing new additions to that.
Okay, so I'm hearing that everybody in the group is comfortable discussing the on-call model that I put together some notes on them. Is that correct?
I think, sure, let's give a couple minutes to a brief summary and then we can all vote to see if we want to add it into those 5 or 6 that we're looking at. Is anyone okay with him giving us a quick rundown?
Yeah.
As a group, and then we can discuss and then go from there. And vote to put it on our stuff, and then we can adjust the letter. If we vote not to, wherever that goes, we can adjust it into our letter. But go ahead, Mike.
All right, so I don't really want to read this, but there's a lot of people here who don't know what's going on. So I'm going to kind of try to summarize it as best I can. As we've talked over the last several months about things that are important to Shutesbury, the residents, what type of policing they're looking for, and additionally, some of the constraints and difficulties that our police department has to work with as far as manning and having people trained, getting through the full-time police academy and things like that. That it looked like trying to combine what people are interested in town, having policing services, and what would work well for our police department. Came up with a model that I'm calling the on-call model. And some of the background for that I do want to hit upon is that it's important to have a immediate response time when somebody needs help. There's concern about relying on state police when there's no Shutesbury police officers present. There's a great value placed on a police department who residents know who the officers are, and they are part of the community. There is a frequent turnover of officers in the police department. And part of this is because once an officer goes through a full-time training academy, they are a very valuable commodity in the area, and they can be recruited by other police departments. Unfortunately, being a small town, she doesn't have the ability to pay a lot to keep the officers, so that is sometimes a problem and a reason why our officers do leave. There is a desire, I've heard that there's a desire from our officers that we do have on board now, that they enjoy working in a small town environment, and they like to stay in that small town area. And then there may be some cost savings associated with cruisers, equipment, and training with this on-call model. So basically what the on-call model is that there'd be only 2 officers who would be required to live in Shutesbury, be residents of Shutesbury. They would basically be on call 24/7. much like what our current police department is, they are, as Kristen has said, they are available to come in and take care of police business on a, you know, a 24/7 basis. With
True.
two officers being on call, there'd be no set schedule for them to actually have to work, you know, 9 to 5 or 7 to 11 or whatever. They would just be available all the time to answer calls for service. However, there could be a set number of hours per week or per month or whatever, if the select board wanted to establish that they wanted to, you know, physically have, you know, the police patrolling or doing traffic control or anything like that. They could set a number of hours on some sort of a schedule. Salary for each of these people would be somewhere around the $80,000 to $85,000 per year mark. Hopefully that would be enough to keep officers from being recruited by other towns for a like amount of money or anything like that. And each officer would have their own cruiser. They'd keep them at their home in Shutesbury so that they would be available to respond to calls from their home or from wherever they were in town. The administrative tasks that the police department has to deal with would be shared by both officers. And if there's a need for face-to-face contact with an officer, that could either be by appointment basis or it could be the officers could set up designated office time for X number of hours a week or whatever they'd like to do. Then as far as some other caveats with this, then one officer would be allowed to leave town for whatever reason, you know, taking care of personal business, or if they had to do police activities like training court or something like that. As long as there's one other officer in town, the other one could be out of town. If for some reason both officers have to be away, then we'd count on the state police to fill in and answer calls at that time. And this plan would also allow the officers to work part-time at a location in town, as long as whatever work they were doing, they would be able to leave that work to answer a call. They would also be allowed to work part-time outside of town, as long as the other officer was still in town and able to answer calls. Then there's the question about if you've got to be able to have some, you know, free time if you want to be able to go and attend a wedding or a celebration or something like that, where the possibility of consuming alcohol or legal drugs may be involved. And at that point, or to cover something like that, you know, each officer should go out and what I'll say, you know, party while at least the other officer is still in town and able to answer calls legally and not being under the influence of any alcohol or drugs or anything like that. Vacation time be coordinated between the officers so that they're both not gone at the same time. And it'd be nice to see them volunteer to be Shutesbury volunteer fire department members, but not required. So that's basically what the model would be as far as what I see, and that's pretty much it.
Okay, do people have questions or comments? I see Mary Jo and Justin. Mary Jo, or I don't know if it's Mary Jo or Melody, but whoever has the question.
It's me. I actually have a comment, and I want to ask, I apologize for getting it to you relatively late, but has anybody seen the email that I sent to our committee this afternoon?
Yes.
We're gonna not talk about that at the moment. We're gonna stick with this for the agenda, for, well, this particular thing. Does it apply to this model at all?
Yes, it does, absolutely. And the reason why I think it applies, I appreciate Mike's sharing.
Excuse me, Mary Jo, are you going to discuss your email again?
No, I'm not going
Okay.
to discuss my email specifically. I'm going to say that
Well, are you going to bring it into your point?
I believe that it's in discussing this in our committee with police officers present, we are putting the town in legal jeopardy.
I'm sorry, I do not agree with your point.
because it is a
And that's
conflict
fine,
of
but I would
interest.
ask you respond, with respect to the chair's request for you not to follow up
Just
on
this.
this issue at this time.
If
We're
you
not-
don't want to hear from me, I am going to sign out.
No, just on that issue, just if we can focus right on this. This is what we're talking about now.
Well, I think that you can't discuss changes in pay to municipal employees with them present.
We
We're
are
not-
not,
Proposes-
we're
this
not a
proposes a change in
decision
pay. This
You are
proposes a
not a
change in pay.
decision
This,
maker.
this is an idea that we're talking about. This isn't anything that is being changed yet.
Well, I
or even
completely
looking
agree
at.
with, the idea being good to discuss. I just think that this is not the appropriate place to discuss it. And I'm not going to engage in the discussion. So, I may not just be a part of the meeting if that's what you're going to do. Because I think unless you can tell me and explain to me why I'm wrong.
It's an open meeting and anyone in town or anyone in the country can participate. So that's why we have open meetings and we have open meeting law. So, but right now we're and so anyone in town can attend, any town employees can attend, and anyone outside the town can attend because it's an open meeting. So that's the premise of what we're doing here. And we have to continue talking about the stuff that is in our charge. Pay does pop up, but that's part of our discussion, but we're not changing anything. We're just talking about an idea and a concept here. We're not talking about a contract and a salary negotiation. So those are two different things. So we're going to go forward and talk about this idea and in conceptual idea that Mike has brought forward to us, so that we can get to our other agenda items. So I saw Justin, I see Mike and Susie. Justin, real quick, go ahead.
Yeah, this is regards to Mike. The only, I haven't gone over this with him. It's fine detail. I'm just coming into this, so forgive me. But I'm seeing complications with, so you're saying that every officer in town would have to be a resident of town. They would have to live in town and they would be on call 24/7 regardless of any, you gave a brief narrative as far like, how they're able to take time off and so on. I got all that, but I'm just seeing complications in trying to make sure that we have recruited officers who are dedicated into the town specifically and that are not coming per se from like a surrounding town. That seems kind of problematic as far as being able to find that force within the town. Sorry, that's it. That was it. Sorry.
I think if I understand a question correctly, it sounds like you think that we can only have someone on the police department who is already a resident of Shutesbury, but that's not the case. If there's someone who lives somewhere else and wants to be one of the on-call members of the police department, then as long as they moved to Shutesbury and became a Shutesbury resident, then that would fit the bill.
So we would pay to relocate them into our community? Or would this have to be a cost for somebody from the exterior to come in, buy property, live here in order to protect our community?
I don't know. That's a, it's a good question. That probably needs to be something that would be added to this model is how the town would deal with be assisting someone who wanted to relocate or something. I think that's certainly a possibility, and it's a good point.
Thank you. I'm just seeing with the difficulty that we're having with maintaining officers as it stands, the complications of once adding a greater restriction to the availability of officers that we would potentially have who would like to come and help our community if they literally had to leave shop from theirs and to come here. I mean, I respect the dedication of anybody who'd be willing to do so. I'm just think that might be a relatively limited gene pool. That's it. Thank you, Mike.
Right, but if you're also familiar with last couple of officers that did go through the full-time academy were Shutesbury residents, and like I said, once they go through the academy, they're very lucrative commodity, and other towns will try to recruit them, and that's what happened with two of our folks who were living in town and who are now serving on other police departments. So,
Okay.
There is
I do know. I do know. Is there any way that, I mean, I'm just throwing this out there. I don't want to hold this up any longer. That if an officer were to join our community, that there was some type of a tenure that they would have to legally adhere to, like as far as being okay, if say I'm from somewhere else, but I'm working in this town, and the goodwill of the community is offered to put me through the academy, that I would have a 5-year tenure within the town, and that would be part of my accepting of the academy, or part of being accepted into the academy. I mean, I'm not saying that you can do that legally. I don't know if that's even possible, but
Justin, we do have something that a contract that they do sign saying that they will remain here for 5 years, and if not, they do pay us back prorated to however many years they've stayed before leaving since the academy. So it's prorated 1 year, 2 year, up to 5 years. So they do pay financially. They do pay back if they don't stay the 5 years.
understood. Is it sorry, I'm done after this. Is it like equal to the investment that we put into the officers?
Yes. So if they leave in the first year, it's the whole thing. Second year, it's prorated for each year.
Okay.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Thank you.
No, it's not, Becky.
No, the difference is the part that they contract, am I muted?
No,
you're good.
They contract to pay back the expenses of the out-of-pocket expenses only. They were paid full-time for the whole almost 6 months that they were in the academy. So it does not.
It's for the academy cost. I'm sorry, it's for the academy cost, right?
Right.
Not the payroll part. I'm sorry.
Right, not the cost to the town. It's
Could we not change that?
not legally because it's called slavery.
We've done as much as we can. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Okay, so I saw Kristen, Susie, Mary Jo. So Susie was after Justin on the screen, at least when him.
So Mike, do you have a proposal here? Have you seen this in action in any other towns? Are you outlining something that's out there?
No, I'm not. I don't know that this is actually in use anywhere, anything like that. Again, it's just from listening to some of the concerns and comments of our group over the last few months, trying to address all of those in some sort of a model, and this is what I came up with. So.
And also, I don't see in this proposal a real coming to implement community policing as it's been described and as the select board has engaged, and do you see that in here? Community policing at the level that we've been talking about for the last several months?
Well, I'm still not absolutely positive what community policing is. And it's, my take on it is that the officers are involved in the town, that they understand the people that live in the town, they know who the people are, and they, they're familiar with, the issues and things that they're dealing with. And I think if you're living in the town and you're attending, social functions, not as a police officer, but as a community member, you learn about the people and you learn about the town and you know who's doing what and who needs assistance here and there. So I think as far as the concept, the way I understand community policing, I think this is probably the best way to do community policing that I've seen so far.
So this model is a total response, not a preventative model in its design.
Well, it depends on how on what you consider is preventative. If having someone driving around in a cruiser, for 8 hours a shift is going to fill your preventative square, then no, you're probably with this model, you're probably not going to get that because it's very flexible. It's very open that, an officer could be at home watching TV during the day and a call comes in, they go and answer the call. So they wouldn't be doing what you consider preventative items as far as that's concerned. However, if the select board wanted to see a physical presence out there, they could set, like I said, a set number of hours for each week or each month or something like that to just have them driving around in the cruiser. But I would imagine if I were doing something like this, I'd probably be out on a regular basis, just driving around, seeing what's going on and just making sure everything's in order.
The order has changed on me, so I apologize. I think Kristen was next.
Okay, so I have a few questions, Mike. One, I have a lot of questions, but I'm going to go to the biggest point that I have to save time. I'm not sure, have you looked at the labor laws on mass.gov? I did. The labor laws speak to this on-call status. And what you're asking is that an officer remain on premises for 24/7. And that they can work out their schedule amongst their cohort that they're working with. So if I want to go to the grocery store, I would have to call up the other officer and say, hey, don't leave town. I'm going to the grocery store, and work out any conflicts between themselves because there would be no hierarchy of command. But more importantly, if we're on call 24/7 for $85,000 per year, that roughly works out to $9.70 an hour, which is well below minimum wage. So I'm just wondering if you happen to look at the labor laws.
Yeah, Becky, I see you have a hand. Does anyone else have an echo in their computer listening?
No.
Huh, I do. Anyway, I'll ignore it.
Can I speak to this question,
You can.
Melissa?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I have great concern. First of all, Mike, is the 85,000 for both officers or one officer?
One.
Okay, so that's about 40,000, less than $40,000 a year for an officer. The concern is the status of the chief is as an exempt employee, which means that the police chief does not get paid overtime like other department heads, and we do not pay hourly. These individuals, we would be required to pay hourly. And once, I think, I don't know, Kristen, did you do that computation that arrived at $9 an hour for, at the 85 or at the 40 rate?
At the 85, I think Mike did say 85 per officer, which I'm kind of excited about, that I'm on call 24/7. And
No,
he thinks
yeah.
that someone on call should get paid more.
But unfortunately, he said for both officers,
No.
which means that the,
No, 85 per officer.
oh, good, then I'm wrong.
Yeah,
85
so I
per
did do it.
officer, so we have almost no savings in our budget from this suggested scenario.
Yeah, you do. Well, based on the budget numbers that Melissa came up with.
Because these would not be the only items. As far as the wages go, it's about 160. So we would have maybe 40,000, 30,000.
And
If-
not to mention that if you're on call
Yeah.
for 24/7 and you have to accrue sick time and vacation time, who's going to be covering all of that, because it's going to go up exponentially.
And the point, just by the numbers, I don't know if you could get 24/7 coverage with legally with these dollar amounts, because these would have to be hourly employees, because they have no supervision outside of the select board.
And also
That's,
to add
that's
to
all my
the,
point is.
I'll add to Becky's slight comment, there's also benefits and stuff to go in this, which would raise that total compensation. So, you're probably at exactly what our current budget is for the police department.
So, I'm not an expert on all the personnel things, and we've got Melody, who is our personnel rep, but I'm not going to put her on the spot because this is a lot more involved than I think anybody would be able to understand at this point. But I don't understand why we couldn't work through some of these things. I'm sure there's going to be a way to be able to come up with something that would be workable. And that's what this group is supposed to be about, is to look at the issues and come up with ways to make things work. So I would, ask those of you who said that it's running into problems as far as personnel issues are concerned, to maybe help me out here and give me some ideas on how it could work.
Will do.
Okay, so I think I'm going to call on the other people who have their hands up, but I think we should move on to the survey. And I guess this would be, we might have to vote on whether or not we want to include this in that stuff. So
Can I speak, please?
1 second. I see Mary. I have a line of people here. Let's go to Melody first.
Yeah, thank you. And
Chair,
I'll be
Chair.
brief. Mine are just points of clarification, Mike. How did you arrive at the number 2? Was that based solely on the budget numbers and then trying to come up with a salary that you felt would be pretty well compensated?
Yes.
Okay. And then, oh, shoot, I hate being old. I had another question. Oh, geez. I'm sorry. I had another question, which in my mind was really important, and now I can't remember. If I think of it later, I'll send it to you. Sorry. Thank you.
So I see going through Rachel. Go ahead, real quick. You do want to move on.
Thank you for including me. I'm a Shutesbury resident for over 20 years and part of a long-term Shutesbury family. And I have said this in prior meetings, but I haven't said it for quite some time. And it's pursuant to this on-call document that I see before me. On this document, it states that if neither officer were available, that we would rely on our state police. And I have researched that, and our Belchertown state police barracks usually has 2 officers on call for one of the largest landmass areas in our states, in the Western Mass area. They have to patrol the entire Quabbin. And I want to tell you that if someone was at my door in a violent way, I would not want to wait for a state police officer to come all the way from the Quabbin or the state police barracks, or wherever else it is in Belchertown that they're patrolling. Similarly, if there's a domestic violence incident or a child abuse incident, you don't want to wait. It's a matter of seconds and minutes. And I can tell you that I've spoken with other people, and response times from the state police are sometimes much longer than 20 minutes or 60 minutes and longer. So that really concerns me with this model. And thank you for including me.
Thank you, Rachel.
I'll come back to Rachel's comment. I know other people want to talk.
Yep. Cheryl. Thank you, Mike. Cheryl.
Did you call on me?
Yes.
Okay. Mike, I think this model is based on the British model, where they have someone living in small towns who's on call 24/7. They've lived there pretty much all of their lives because the people in England don't tend to move around like they do in this country. But they also have backup from larger police groups that are nearby, probably equivalent to our state police. I don't know whether that would be considered equivalent or not. But I think the whole philosophy behind that is really a very different model than what we have in this country, because the policing in the United Kingdom and policing in the United States are very, very different. I mean, the police in the United Kingdom don't even carry guns. So I don't think if that's what this model is based on, I don't think it's appropriate for here. Having said that, I think that we're getting into the weeds on this, and really what we want to do is to decide whether or not it should be included in the letter. I don't see any reason why it can't be included in the letter, regardless of whether there's problems with it.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay. I know, let's see, Kristen had her hand up still. Justin, Becky, I just saw your hand. Kristen, real quick.
Yes, real quick. I'm just wondering how many more ideas are going to be coming to the table. We have a great group of ideas that we've been working on for 6 months now. Now we have another one. If more ideas are going to be brought to the table, I think we can come up with plenty more ideas to bring to the table. I've got a few myself. I'm just wondering how much longer we're going to keep going, bringing, 6 months in. Oh, wait, I have another idea. I'm concerned about our timetable as it is now.
Justin, and then Becky. Becky, go ahead,
All
Justin.
right, I'll just make it super quick, so I got to get going pretty soon too. I'm just curious as to, I don't know the history of this. What's wrong with our current model? Like, why are we restructuring?
We're just doing an information gathering of different options to see if there may be something that Shutesbury might appeal to Shutesbury, but it's only information gathering. We're not making any decisions in this particular committee. That's
okay. Was there any particular problem that was brought to the council?
No. No problem. The select board decided to take an opportunity when the past chief resigned to take just a look at what our practices are, what our needs are and such before going into just directly hiring a chief. So that was just a moment in time to just gather information.
Okay, so this is more predominantly about the chief position.
It's slightly this, it prompted with the chief, but it just, we're looking at the structure, making sure it's right for Shutesbury. We have a survey going.
Okay, that's it.
So it's really information. There's no decisions being made in this group.
I was just curious if there was a problem with the pre-existing structure. That's what.
No problem. Just an opportunity to look at it, make sure it's right.
Okay, thank you.
Becky.
I just want to say I did the calculation. It's 24 hours times 365 days. is 8,760 hours times minimum wage equals $131,400. So that would have to be times 2. That's all.
Okay, thank you for that calculation, Becky. Melanie.
Yeah, I'm sorry, real quick. I remembered my last question. Mike, I just wanted to be sure I heard you right. Were you suggesting that these 2 officers would also be on the fire department as well?
If they would be encouraged to volunteer and not, it wouldn't be required or anything like that, but it would seem since a lot of I want to say emergency calls involve medical issues, and the fire department is basically our medical department, that if they were on the if they were volunteer firefighters, then they would also be able to help out a little bit more as far as those medical emergencies were concerned.
Susie, I want to move on to our letter in our survey. I want us to.
Can we quickly respond to Mike's response?
Yep. Go ahead, Becky.
The fire and police officers are trained to the same level of medical response. So it doesn't matter if they were, if they respond as a police officer, you already have that coverage. So that last point doesn't really hold up.
Okay, so scratch that, but at the same time, I know the fire department is always looking for volunteers. So an idea that if they were available, since they are in town all the time, that might not be a bad idea.
And the police and fire typically are called out to the same events.
Susie, did you have, before we
So
discuss adding to our letter?
So I agree that adding new ideas is difficult at this time. I was trying to think in my mind how we would summarize this on the cover letter. And what I think the highlights are, it would be an on-call only model, 2 resident police staff, and I think that is the crux of it. I do wonder, I know that Kristen had to be named acting chief in order to participate in state level interactions where they require a person that's representing a chief. So I'm not sure if that's a problem in this model, but I believe if we were going to put this on the letter, it would just call it the on-call model with 2 paid resident police officers, and let people research if they are thinking about it. But as far as representing that from our committee, I don't think our committee's job is to resolve problems with them. We haven't, we've thought about the problems, but we've not proposed solutions to other problems. And I don't believe it's our job to do that tonight.
Thank you, Susie. I agree with you there. Anyway, I do agree with you. Kristen, one more comment, then we really have to move on.
I agree with a lot of what Susie said, but I don't think that we should propose something that might not legally have any standing. I have some concerns in regards to the new post commission and what their requirements are. That's all.
That's true.
I'd like to make a couple comments from some people that have spoken earlier.
Make it short because we really need to move on.
As far as the relying on the state police, we rely on the state police now from 11 at night till 7 in the morning. So that's not optimum, but it is a fact. Also, we do have the ability to ask for mutual aid from towns around us. So there's always that opportunity to get assistance if these 2 officers were not in town. And as far as more ideas coming up. I don't think it's appropriate that we not listen to ideas. I mean, no matter when they come or whatever, I think that's what this group is all about. I think that's what government and leadership is all about, is to listen to new ideas and see if they're going to work or not. So I'm a little concerned about constantly hearing about some sort of a timeline that we're on. And you know, when we get our work done, then we get our work done. To set an arbitrary timeline that we've got to, you know, have the answer to, I don't think that's quite right.
I don't think, Mike, I think that the thing is that we want the survey to go out, and we have to hone it in on that. And so we have to get that out first. Not that we can't have ideas that come from the survey, but we do have a time limit. We need to get something decided on, put together for the select board to mull over and look at for any decisions that they might, and ideas they might have. So we do have a timeline. And we want to make sure we have the appropriate policing in town for us. So we have to get the survey out, and we have to, you know, we can't keep adding things to the survey. We can do the survey, get that out, and then other things come along, but we will have to use the survey as our basis of information as far as what the town residents are really wanting for us to have as a police model. So with that said, let's take a vote. Let's take a vote. Do I hear a motion to attempt to add the on-call to our survey or letter? And then we can vote on that, and then move on to the letter and the survey. No motion?
I make a motion to consider adding this to our letter, the on-call model.
Thank you, Susie. Does anyone have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Do we have any further questions or discussion before we vote?
I feel it's really important not to include an illegal option. So for that reason, I would vote against including it until we figure out if it's a legal option.
Okay. Cheryl, I see your hand.
I think it's possible to include it, but if we do, we need to put in a proviso that it may not meet the legal requirements for policing in this state.
That's part of the reason that I'm not sure I'd want to add it, because I wouldn't want the option out there for people to think it is a legal option, even with the caveat, until we knew. So that's my thought on the idea. But anyway, let's take a vote. I'm going to go with who I see. Melody.
So I'm voting yes or no to include it.
Yes or no to include it in our survey and letter.
Chartier, aye.
Okay. Next person I see is Kristen.
Burgess, nay.
Next person, Cheryl.
I'm going to abstain.
Okay. I'm missing somebody. Susie.
Mosier, nay.
Okay, so that's everybody.
Mary Jo is with Melody.
Oh, Mary Jo, go ahead.
Johnson, nay.
Okay. And Make Peace O'Neill, nay.
And Mike.
And Mike Vinsky.
Vinsky, aye.
All right. So there was 2 yeses, 1, 2, 3, 4 noes, and 1 abstain. Susie, do you have that in the minutes?
Yes, I do.
So that motion does fail to include it in the letter and the survey. All right, good discussion though. Let's move on to the survey letter. I had just also sent right before the meeting an update, a couple more. I'm going to bring it up on the screen edits. Let me find it. Oops. Other way. 54. Okay. I'm going to share screen.
Nice Christmas tree.
Oh, thank you. It'll be up until February. The way we do things in my family. It's a winter tree now. All right. Okay, can everybody? I don't think you can see it.
I can see
Yes.
it.
I see it.
Okay, good. I'm sorry about that. Okay, so I have to have it on this screen for you guys to see. All right, so here is the letter. People probably didn't get to see the last couple of edits I made. I do have one question because I wasn't sure how to edit one section. So do you want me to read it? Do you want to read it on the screen yourselves? You give me what you'd like, since it's kind of new with edits.
Why
Oh,
don't
you
you?
fixed the run-on sentence.
Yeah.
Melissa, I have a question.
Yes.
You sent two versions of
The
this
last
letter
one,
in your
the last
email.
one. Yeah. So
Um,
I did both in the email.
I got two of them. So,
Hang on.
which one are we working with here?
The one I sent, although you said
Maybe we should just
Right
go
at
through.
like 5:45.
the one right on the screen. It was the second email I sent, but you said there are two on there.
Maybe we should just read this one and then we'll know
Yeah,
which
we'll
one we're
just go with
doing.
this one. Okay. So if you can look on the screen, if you can't, I can certainly read it. You guys let me know if you want me to read it out loud. I'm perfectly happy doing that.
I need to get a hard copy of it. So if you can tell me which version this is, I'll print it out.
Second, I'm going to stop sharing so I can open up another window.
I think that was the one with the instructions that were complete. Draft number 1 didn't have the instructions.
Yeah. Mike, it
It
was.
also had a
Mike, it
run-on
was-
sentence that's gone.
It's gone.
Mike, it was in the email that came through at 5:46 tonight.
Oh, no wonder we didn't see it.
Yeah. Sorry, it was right past the meeting. The person sent edits right at the very moment, a couple minutes before I went on. So I wanted to make sure I included them. Do you see the email there, Mike, at 5:46?
I have it. I'm getting a print on it right now.
Okay. Okay. Can everybody else see on the screen while we go forward?
It's fine.
Okay, you can see it. Okay. All right. So the first paragraph, how do people feel about the first paragraph?
It's
Haven't
much
read it
better
yet.
now.
Thank you. It was a community effort, so.
I just wanted to mention though that Chief Hernandez resigned in 2021, which was last year now.
Yep. Okay.
It's
Got it.
true. The time goes by.
Yep, so we can make that edit. Should we put in the month and year?
No,
Or
just
no?
say last year.
Last year. Okay, I'll change that to last year.
If
Okay,
that's okay with everybody.
does that work out all right?
That's good.
Okay. Let me know if you see anything else in that first paragraph. I know you're now see that part of my screen, but you don't need to let me move that. Oh, there we go. Anything else in that first?
What if somebody doesn't have internet access and they can't go to that website? Are you gonna offer another way they can see the charge?
Yeah, we can ask Becky, that could be get the town clerk for the charge, right? Technically against an open document where the cost would go.
Or we could include a copy of the charge with the survey.
Yeah.
We could do that. How do people feel about that? Yeah, I see a thumbs up. Anybody else feel good? with that?
How
Okay.
many people are going to get this by mail? How many of these will be
Everyone.
sent out?
Everyone.
Yes,
Each
how many
household
is
will get it
that?
by month. Becky, how many households we have in Shutesbury?
It's about 850.
But there's more than one person per many of the households.
Right, and we'll talk about
another
how many surveys
discussion.
right, we'll get to that discussion. That's on the.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay,
Okay, so I'll change
I'm just trying to keep the cost down and also the number of trees we're killing down.
I think the charge.
Most people are not going to want to read the full charge for the study group. I'm guessing that piece of paper will get thrown out in 90% of the households.
Can I see the rest of the charge? I've only got the first part on the screen.
This isn't the charge, this is the survey letter. The charge is a different document.
Okay, sorry, thank you.
Yeah, that's fine. So we might include the charge. I think I can format, if we have to, I think I can format it so that it's on letter on one side, charges on the other. I'd have to work with the format of them, but I think I can do that.
That would make the font for the letter pretty small.
This is at 12. I think.
Yeah, you'd have to go down to 8 to get that on one side of a page.
Can we discuss this part later, Melissa?
Yeah. I'm gonna put down format and then, okay.
Great, thank you.
That's right. So let's see. Anything else with the first one, the charge and the number of surveys? Okay. Anything with the second paragraph that anyone sees? I already changed on the last year. Okay. Anybody on the second paragraph?
Looks good.
Good. Okay. All right. And then the question 5, which addresses the options, the alternative, or the information for alternative options are here. Reads through them. Let's see what you think. I can move the page when anyone needs to.
Are we fully staffed?
We are, well, no, we have a, I don't, Kristen, can you answer
We're
that
pretty
question?
close.
We're close, okay. Go ahead, Kristen.
We are fully covered. We'll call it that, Justin.
That's
So
a good way.
we are fully covered for the shifts. Are we where we are supposed to be as far as full-time officers? No, not at the moment, but we've been on hold.
Thank you.
So everybody's okay with question 5, that one sentence there? at the
No,
top?
we're not ready to talk about the different alternative structures yet.
We're headed there. I just want to make sure that one sentence or those
Well,
2 sentences.
Can I ask a question?
Mary,
Are we gonna just, would it be helpful to say something in that sentence about budget? Like, because people might wonder, well, which one will cost the least? Which one will cost the most? Because that might.
We don't know that.
We don't have that data.
We haven't done that data yet.
Okay, so, because there might be people out there that are concerned about their taxes that would be like, well, I want to know which one would cost me the most or the least, and I just thought I'd throw that out there.
We could put in a sentence that the cost of each of these alternatives has not been assessed or something like that.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful because I don't know that we necessarily want people assuming that these are all a level playing field, or, you know what I mean? Just to cover us for the future.
Okay, I'm gonna put that in. I have the open one here. So
We could put parentheses after the sentence to help answer the question. Here are definitions of alternative structures. Costs have not been determined.
I think it should be a separate sentence.
The cost of these alternatives has not yet been assessed, is what Melissa said earlier. Is everybody happy with that?
That's fine.
Mike has his hand up. Are you okay with that, Mike?
That's fine. I have a comment about something.
Okay.
I just want to put that sentence in there. Okay,
Yeah, well,
go ahead. Mike.
So, kind of piggybacking on what Melanie just said, as far as the cost is concerned, I don't feel that that this is now's the time to do this survey. There's a lot of stuff in here that we really have no additional information about. Basically, what each one of those 5 different models would entail, what it would look like more specifically, and of course, including the cost structure. And I'm not sure, if I try to mesh the survey with the charge, I think we're talking about trying to determine a listing of issues the community reaches out to the police department for. And I don't know that the survey is doing that. So, if we're going to actually, send this out, I think it should be, once we've got an idea of what the structure of each of these 5 different models looks like.
But I think we need to have information of what the public feels, even just on this top level concept with these items, because it could rule some of these completely out of running if the residents in town aren't, they don't sit with the residents of town. They want something, either they want what we currently have, or one of these pops up. What we need to know their feeling, and we won't be able to do all of the cost structure and the other structure out for, a length of time.
could we scroll down real quick? Because I got to take off. I just want to see what the other 5, what the,
Yep.
Thank you.
You got it? You see? So we need to have some feedback from the public to know where things will settle, Mike. And I don't know that we can come up with a whole proposal from top to bottom, then ask people, because we would spend months doing that. Right?
If I still have a floor, then we're looking. The charge says to come up with a listing of issues the community reaches out to the police department for. I think if you look at the call logs, you can get that information from the call logs. I mean, if they're if people are calling because they're having a home invasion or a domestic, or they've lost their dog or whatever, I think you can get that information from the logs. I don't know that this survey is going to tell you what the community is reaching out to the police department. It seems just a mixture of various different questions that I think are focusing towards the different models that we're possibly going to discuss. Reason I think we need to hold off until we absolutely understand what those models are.
Susie.
I feel that our mission is to find out from the town how it feels about different administrative structures and how that would relate to services in town. I don't believe we're going to come up with a solution that we hand over to the select board. That's not our job. I believe we should come up with, if we have a list of ideas, come up with some, I have some reactions to some of these models, and I don't believe we can come up with a unified report. I believe I'm going to come up with some comments and suggestions of concerns that the select board picks through and it comes up with its solution. And then it begins a process of proposing that to the town. And so the select board will need to hear this survey results. And that is just one piece of gathering information. And I think we need to do that now.
Rachel, and then Cheryl.
I have a question. I don't know if Acting Police Chief Kristen Burgess can help us, or someone on the police study group can help with this question. If you scroll back up a little bit above, it talks about alternative structures. My concern about listing the Massachusetts State Police as an alternative structure, are we talking about the Massachusetts State Police and no town police? Because we're talking about alternative structures here. So I see regionalization of our police services in the town. I see a shared chief in our town as a alternative structure. And if you can scroll back up a little bit, it talks about alternative structure. So I'm not sure how Massachusetts State Police is an alternative structure. I thought every town is supposed to have, I don't know, I'm just asking, is that an alternative structure? That's something we can have?
So Kristen's on the phone, so I'll attempt to answer that. So this was just an idea of possible alternative options. And one of them was having the state police be the primary person that come and call onto our calls. So we know that there are some issues with that one, with the timing and the lack of police officers for the state police in our area. These are not without fault. Any of these are not without fault in some way. But it was one option that was pulled out, was one option that we discussed putting on the survey. So I'm not sure if that 100% answers your question, and I can turn it over to Kristen.
Yeah, I don't think that I could say it any better, Melissa.
Okay. Yeah, it's
just
not that it's without fault, not without fault, but it was one of the ones that we had discussed putting on.
Yeah, it's just one of the ones that we had discussed, just like any of the other ones up here. They all come with issues and I shouldn't say issues, but they all come with different, concepts that may or may not, work. And so it was just a generalized.
Did that answer your question, Rachel? You still had your hand up.
Yeah, I just wasn't, I'm sorry, I wasn't sure that we could, is this saying that we would then, one of the choices as an alternative structure is to only have Massachusetts State Police and no Shutesbury Police Town Force?
That's how we
Police Department?
defined that one.
Sorry, Melissa, I don't think we heard you.
I said that's how we had defined, I'm sorry, my microphone doesn't seem to be working well tonight. That one is how we defined that one to put on the survey as one of the options. It, like Kristen had said, and I had said that there's not some things that have to be worked out with any of these. But it was just one that was the committee thought was something to put on there. Cheryl?
Yes, I thought I heard Kristen say at one time that that there is a state law that every town must have a police department.
Provide police services.
Okay, so does asking the state police to provide all of those services, does that fall within the town providing police services?
Vaguely, yes, I think it.
Right.
No,
Okay. So
no,
of
it's
course,
not.
there are problems with this. I mean, I think that's what everyone's sort of getting at. This is a generalized idea, and as Susie stated before, it's not our job to work out the problems or the issues with each idea. It's just bringing forth the idea.
Yes, but I don't think we should bring forth an idea that can't be done.
Yeah, I mean, there would definitely have to be some things tweaked with this. You need someone who's going to do LTCs and things like that, but yeah.
Okay, that actually wasn't what I raised my hand about. I raised my hand to respond to Mike. We've been talking about this survey now for months. And I think we're way past the point where we're thinking whether or not we should be doing a survey. We are doing this survey. We have come to what we want to do. Now is not the time to bring up, well, maybe we shouldn't do a survey. That's all.
I see Mary Jo or Melody. Go ahead, Melody. I have maybe a thought to add to the state police one, but go ahead. Maybe.
Well, I was just going to do a little wordsmithing and say,
Okay.
if we don't want to get stuck on the word alternative, I was going to suggest, why don't we just say model? You know, like these are some possible models to look at rather than alternatives, just because I think that's what these are. These are models. They're not necessarily alternatives.
So are you talking about in that first sentence saying?
Yeah, if you could just scroll up really quick where it says.
On the screen, hold on. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, okay. Oh, no, too
Right
far,
here?
too far. Right before question 5. Yeah. The definition of alternative structures. So why you could just say here are the definition of possible policing models or whatever.
Okay, how do people feel about that wording?
I'm not comfortable with that.
I'm not either.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. The one thing I was going to do, thinking about down on the state police, we know that it's not, we can't rely on them totally, right? Because we had that discussion with Kristen. Do we want to put something that
Maybe the word primarily.
say that again?
Maybe the town relies primarily on the MSP, if that's part of that proposal.
Primarily or heavily?
Mhm.
Primarily, how do those two words feel with people? The town would rely on
Primarily.
primarily. Yeah, I like that word better. Primarily.
Or to say, well, I have a problem with that because that makes it very squishy. People would everybody would interpret that on what they think primarily means.
Okay. Maybe we leave it. Let's see. Maybe we leave it as it stands, or we add in that we can't rely entirely on state police and would have to have some services here in town.
That would be helpful to the public.
Okay.
Yes, that would be better.
So a sentence that says the town relies, maybe after the sentence would say that the town could not rely solely on state police and would have to provide some in-town police services.
That sounds good.
Why don't we just say state law requires each town to provide some services?
Options for that one? Or
Fine
thoughts
with
on
me.
this? Okay. State law. Repeat that one more time, Cheryl. State law.
State law requires that each town provide some services, some police services.
Okay, so I popped that in there. And I'll send this around to everybody too, again. Okay, how does regionalization look?
Well, wait a minute. We weren't going, we were not even started talking about this, and then we jumped down to the Massachusetts State Police thing. I have something to say about contracted police services.
Okay, go ahead.
I don't believe that it's necessary that contracted police services be pay for service. It could also be, for example, a monthly flat fee that's contracted. I think we need to take out pay for service there.
I don't understand your point, Cheryl.
Yeah.
Pay for service implies that the town will pay for each call. And so therefore, there's not a set amount that's going to be spent every month.
Well, it could be in a variety of ways. Pay for
It says-
service, you could,
It says basis through a contract. So the contract would figure out what that was. You'd still be paying for services.
But the way you have it worded implies that it's like a fee for service, like a physician, where the physician is not paid a salary, but sends out a bill for each time he or she does something. That's what pay for service implies. So we need.
These were the definitions that we had decided that we had agreed on for the glossary. That's where they came from. I didn't add anything to them except for what we just added to the state police. It was what we.
Cheryl, what
had
are, Cheryl, what are you recommending instead of
instead of-
pay for service?
Just say on a contracted basis. If you take out the term pay for service, then it doesn't imply that it's paid for in any particular way.
How about we say, town A pays town B,
Or pay, town A is this,
town A pays town B to provide services through a contract.
that sounds great.
Yes, that's fine.
To provide services through a contract. Okay. All right. Now moving down to the state police, we did add that sentence. Any other things we would want to add to that one? I know you can't see the sentence, but I'm working on, I had to pull up the Word document. And then regionalization, anything there that we want to? Do I see any hands? No? Okay. What about shared chief?
You have a typo in the third sentence, Costa.
Yes.
This is why we edit things. Okay, there we go. All right. Anything else there? It does go on to the bottom of the next page, I know. Oh, no, it doesn't here. It doesn't mind though. Okay. Good there. So here's where we need to talk a little bit about our survey instructions. So I just plopped, we didn't really have anything, and not too much came back from the edits too much. So the instructions that I had just plopped together was that each resident in town is welcome to complete one survey only. After completing the survey, please place it in a sealed envelope and either drop it off at the drop box outside town, front of town hall, marked police study group, or mail it to the town hall, and I put in the town hall address, also attention police study group. Those are just the things that popped off my head.
Are we suggesting anonymity, or is there a place for people to put their names in case they want to be contacted if we have questions?
I think we're looking for mostly to be anonymous. We can encourage them to reach out if they have any questions.
Okay.
We can encourage that.
I would amend the first sentence to say each resident in town is asked to complete one survey only.
Okay,
But that brings up the question, each household is only going to get one survey. If you have 2 adults in that household, or they don't have to be adults. If you have more than one person in a household that's interested in completing the survey, do they make copies? Is that how we're going to handle that?
No, we don't want anyone to make copies. We want to make sure that they're the original surveys. We want to keep it as tight as possible so that we don't have a large amount of people making copies. So we need to discuss how many we want to include to each household, right? I know the suggestion with what there is a suggestion of 2. I did see Kristen and Susie pop their hand up, so they may have insight, thoughts.
I was just going to add that if we could put in there, if another survey is needed, they could, you know, I don't know, in some way pick up another survey or something like that. Sorry, I'm losing my voice as we go on here. I've been still working on getting better.
I'll put if you are in need of another copy or survey, please email or please contact.
I have a different suggestion before you type that all in.
Go ahead. I can erase it.
I suggest that we make it so that 2 people there could be 2 columns for people to answer, so that a survey could serve 2 people, and we could title the columns person 1, person 2, instead of sending out a lot more surveys.
Great.
That's not easy to do. We can do that, but it means reconfiguring the whole survey.
I think we can do it. I'm pretty good at formatting, so.
Melissa is a master formatter.
I think it
Thank you
saves
for that.
paper and confusion, and it gets more people to respond.
I think we can do it. Okay, Michael.
Yeah, it's just, I'm curious why we're so concerned that we're gonna get a response from multiple response from one person. I don't really think that's going to be the case, and we've never been concerned about that in the past for different surveys we've done. So I'm not quite sure why we're focusing on that this time.
I have some concerns of integrity of the survey going out, and maybe someone making 50 copies and sending them in, and that skews our results, and it waters the data, and it changes the data to what everybody in town would want. We want residents to offer their opinions and feelings, but we don't want all survey fraud, essentially. If we're asking 2 surveys per household, I think that's appropriate, right? If we want each person to, we have to make sure that we can keep the integrity there. We do it just because I'm worried that it could happen where we end up with someone who just decides they want to alter the data here, and we wouldn't know it, and we would base our recommendations, we would base our information, and then the select board would base their information on what those results are. And I am worried about that.
Well, I was under the impression that this wasn't an end-all survey, that this was going to be, listening to the community and then going from there. But I didn't think this was going to be the vote that was going to decide what we're going to do or anything like that. And I'm going to bring up, have we been concerned about this in past surveys that have gone out? I don't think so.
I think it always is. I think it always is. When you do an electronic one, you can only do 1 per email address. You can't do more than that. But we chose to send this out in paper. So you have to have some sort of a confining way to make sure that it's a similar process, that you're not getting someone filling out 10, 20, or 30 surveys for 1 person, which would, in our case, if we only get those 30 back, it would inform us in one way, and then it may not be the way that the whole town feels. I'm worried about keeping the data clean that comes back from the survey in that way.
And why did we decide we're not going to do this via email?
Because not everyone has email, and we want everyone to know that it's anonymous, and that does give an electronic footprint.
Okay.
I mean, some people would do it on email, but there'd be some people that would not. I'm just very concerned that the results that would come back would be, decisions are going to be made on how residents feel in our committee, what we choose to do for information, and what we choose for the select board would ultimately choose to decide. And I think that in this case, it's such an important topic that we have to make sure that it's as clean as possible. Susie, Rachel, Kristen, Cheryl. Okay, go ahead, Susie.
I thought I took my hand down. I'm sorry, I can't see.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Rachel was next. Do you got it, or do you need me to help you, Susie?
Here we go. Sorry.
That's right.
Find it.
Hi, thank you for including me. So I just wonder, and I don't know if this is workable or not, but I'm hearing concerns about maintaining, control over making sure that each household just gets one survey and that you get one survey back from each household. And I don't know what's possible. So my idea is, what if you sent it out in a different color than?
So there's a couple of things, yes. I hadn't discussed all the ideas, but you have colored paper that isn't easily duplicated.
Right.
And then there's a way of putting it into a computer system. So each survey has a unique number. So you could see if one survey comes back, you get 2 number ones, then you know that there's something there, and the committee would have to discuss
I think
if we
I think
count them or not. So.
Yeah, I think all of those are important for integrity and for the integrity of the survey. And having done surveys before in schools, I think that that's really important. I've done that myself. So I know there's also a way to put a watermark on surveys, but I think your idea of paper and things like that, colored paper, and then possibly, I know at one point in one of these meetings, numbering each survey was also discussed. Thank you.
There's an option to do that in a like a page number type way. It's very small. And you would know if you got more than one of a certain survey.
Thank you. I think that's critical. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Kristen?
I was just going to say that in information gathering, which is what we are all trying to do here, getting as accurate information as possible is very important. And therefore, I completely support all the potential ideas on how to make it as accurate as possible and not duplicated.
Cheryl.
So if we are going to change the survey so that it allows 2 people to respond on a single survey, then the instructions, I guess those instructions would have to be put on the survey itself before up above the number, not on the cover letter. So we have to think about that.
So maybe adding something that says this survey contains.
Well, if it's on the survey itself, before number 1, you just say something like each question has spaces for 2 people to respond. Designate if you have 2 people in your household who want to respond, designate one person responder number 1, the other person responder number 2, and go through and fill out the form. I don't know, something like that. I'd have to think about it. But that raises other issues. If you have 2 people in the household that disagree on things, they're going to see each other's responses, and that may not be ideal.
Oh, well.
My husband and I disagree a lot of stuff. He knows what my answers would be on certain things. I'm fine with him seeing my answers. I'm sure he's fine with him,
Yes, but there might be people that are not fine with it.
we're covering the most people. This is not going to be perfect. I think we're covering the most bases this way.
And saving the amount of paper that we're sending. And so, Mike,
I think Cheryl had her hand up before me.
I'm done. I'm done.
Oh, okay. I think we're probably gonna need to, instead of sending these to households, we're gonna have to send them to individual people. And then the question is, so who would that be? Is that gonna be registered voters? Or is it going to be anybody over the age of 18, or how are we gonna determine who is going to actually get one addressed to them? But I don't, I think if you want to control it, that's probably one of the ways that I would suggest.
so do we want to hold it to the adults in the household? Is that what you're asking, Mike? I think.
Well, that would be 18 and up.
Is it Melody or Mary Jo? Who's okay? Melody, go ahead.
Sorry, we will try not to be so confusing next time.
No, just put your hand up in the screen when you raise your.
All right, I was just wondering, in terms of sending to each household, I guess I was thinking that to me, it would make more sense to just send it to each address, because there could be long-term renters, that live here that may not, I mean, I guess it's different if you go with voting rolls, but like, might not be a taxpayer and they might not be on our rolls because they're renters, but they would, be utilizing the police as well. Does that make sense if we would just to use it by address rather than?
That's what I meant by household was that.
Oh, okay, sorry, I didn't.
Rather than saying registered voter, I just said household.
Oh, okay, sorry, my bad.
Yeah. We're on the same page there, I think. Do we want to discuss sending it to each individual person that's over the age of 18 in town?
That's going to increase the cost.
Right.
That's going to increase the cost a lot.
Okay, so maybe per household, then there's 800. You said how many households, Becky? 800. I did not write down the number.
About 850. It varies, 823.
Okay, 850-ish. All right. So I think this needs the survey, of course, now needs a little bit more tweaking with doing the 2 people per, if we're going to head with the 2 people per survey.
We're going to talk about the survey now. I sent out to everybody yesterday, draft number 7. This has the changes that we discussed at the last meeting. I think we're done with the changes. All it would need now is just changing the formats, which I think, Melissa, you volunteered to do.
Yep, I can do formatting. I can do formatting. Okay, so we would want to add, so just to do we want to definitely add the 2 people to the survey? Do we want to include 2 surveys? I guess that's at the point where, because we seemed a little unsure about that. Some of us would go either way. Some of us, maybe 2 surveys, 2 individual papers would be. Comments?
Even though it pains me to kill extra trees, I think it's better to have 2 surveys.
What happens if I format it and we can get less paper as possible, least paper as possible, without making it too small in the writing? Typing.
So Melissa, are you proposing to reformat it for 2 answers, or are you proposing shortening the format so there's just less paper?
I'm proposing either one. I'll go whichever direction and we all decide. So I'm fine with doing either of them. Oh, thank you, Becky. So it's just what do we all want? If we want to do 2 people on one, or if we want to do 2 surveys. I can there's definitely places we could tighten it up so it's in less paper. Right now it's 3 pages. I'm not sure. Becky, can you just quickly scroll so I can see the formatting real quick, or the current one? I don't need to read the document. I just need to see the. Yeah, I think we can tighten it up. I'm not sure we could get it onto less than 3, but we
Well,
could.
there's, people who do surveys say that if you make it small and all squashed together, people miss things because
It would be
this
such
is
a.
the way you're supposed to do them. They're supposed to have a lot of white space.
Right, and this wouldn't go out with 3 individual pages anyway. It would just be 2. We could do 2-sided. Right.
Yes.
So we could certainly leave it this way for 2. We could make it 2-sided and send 2 surveys, or we could add the 2 responses in a formatted way that way. So what do people feel? Go ahead.
I propose a compromise that we leave it as it is, but you add, in terms of spacing, but you add 2 places for people to respond so that we're not sending out 2 2-page surveys.
So 4
2
pages.
piece of paper.
Yeah.
surveys.
Okay. Yeah, I gotcha. Melody.
I second that motion. So now we're open for discussion.
Okay. Melody, did you?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just wanted to say, I wonder, I agree with Cheryl in principle that it would be better to have like the 2 responses, but I also feel like we're inviting a lot of, like there's a lot of places to write. And I just feel like, to me, if I think it would be worth sending 2 surveys per household, because, people, we were talking earlier about people having different opinions, but also if people want the space to write or to ask questions, I think 2 people trying to squeeze stuff on there might be a little difficult. So I would advocate for 2, but I wouldn't be upset if you put 2 on there as well. So, but I just think there would be reasons for people to have their own separate ones.
Becky, this is just a mailing question.
It's difficult to set it up so that people can write their own, where they want to write something in and have that set up easily for 2 people to do it on a single survey.
Okay, so I think we're feeling the 2 pages. Becky, this is a mailing question. We would do this through the way we do the newsletter. Yes, the bulk mailing option.
Yeah, because we're going to addresses. We're not doing it by name, which requires first class mailing.
Susie.
People could add their comments on additional paper. They could use extra paper. That's pretty common.
Kristen.
I can see the benefits of having a second be mailed 2 different papers mailed. I see the benefit of that. I'm not opposed to the other. I do have a question. Are we giving them an envelope stamped for them to mail this back? How does that work? They would have to mail it themselves?
Yes, I think there have been surveys done. And the number, it often doesn't, people do not tend to use the stamped envelopes. Especially with the Dropbox being available, I think we can get away without using them.
I was just curious how that would work.
I think Becky's right. People have been really good about dropping them off when we've asked them, to town hall. So, and we have the Dropbox now. We didn't have the Dropbox before. It was just bringing them into a box in the hallway. So we didn't have a more formal option at that point. Okay, there was a motion on the floor for 2 columns, 2 responses, right?
I
Okay.
withdraw that. I
Okay.
withdraw that. There's been more discussion.
Okay. All right, so I guess we're going with 2 pages, and the cover letter and the charge, and that I will make into 1 page so we don't have 2 pages there. All right. So are we happy with the verbiage that's currently on this survey? I know I'll send out the letter again so everybody can see that with the new sentences on there. Anybody? Are we good? Do you think we can vote on the survey? And the cover letter?
Please.
Amendments? Okay. All right. I will send out the cover letter back to everybody so you'll have that final draft. Do we want to discuss that one more time at the next meeting, or do you think that we're ready for both the survey and the cover letter?
Let's move ahead.
Actually, the survey needs to have instructions for completing at the top, even though we think it's obvious. We probably should have instructions that say something like, please choose the answer that best reflects your thoughts for each question, or something like that.
Okay.
If we don't say that, we may have people putting, putting a check in 2 of the spaces on each question. So we probably should have instructions that say, please pick the single best answer for each question, except of course for question 2, where we want them to fill in a number for each one.
Right. So I guess
I'll
we're
write
gonna
that.
look at this again. We had a tentative meeting, I think, for the 13th, didn't we, on the calendar?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so here's my suggestion. We've gone quite far over tonight. Here's my suggestion. Let's punt the other town budgets till next time, and then do the final look and the final vote on the survey and the letter, so that those can go out very shortly after that, and we can start to get that information in. Is that
Well, that's actually brings up another thought. In the cover letter, you should probably say when they need to get the responses back to us by.
when would we like them back? Let me bring it back up. I'll toss it a note so we can put it in there. Please reply by. Okay. So if this goes out in the next, I'm just looking at my calendar here. So if we finalize it 13th, we possibly could get it out that next week. Do we want it back like February? How long do we want to give people?
3 or 4 weeks, I would think.
Oh, that long?
That
Yeah,
would
you
be,
I
need,
don't know.
that would be February 18th, a Friday.
18th, take away.
Quick question. Did we say that we were going to be meeting on the 13th? Is that what was just said?
Yeah.
I thought we had, or was it the 20th? I don't have it right in front of me. It's in my bag.
The 13th was on hold,
Okay.
but the 20th, we were hoping not to have to meet on the 13th. So I think if we meet then, we can't meet the
But
20th.
if
So-
we want to get this,
Excuse
in the
me, I
next
just want to,
week-
I was still, just a
ahead.
second, Cheryl. So Becky, just a quick reminder, if we do happen to do the 13th, I have a hard leave at 7 or a little before 7 for the fire committee commitment.
And you're not at 7?
Yes, because I have to go over to the fire department.
That's right, right.
Yes.
right. So so we would vote on the survey, we would have those first on the agenda and then have the other towns' budgets later. But Melissa, so Kristen couldn't be here for half the meeting.
Okay. And I
On
don't
the
want,
we meet the 13th.
yeah, I don't like, we could, if we just wanted to super focus the meeting and just have it on voting on the 2 drafts or the 2 final drafts, we could make it a short meeting and then do the rest of the stuff on the 20th and,
I think that's a good idea, so we can get these out.
So Kristen, how does that sound if we just do a 1 topic meeting just for the survey and the letter, vote on that as a committee? And no other discussions around anything. And then anything else is on the 20th that we might need to talk to in length.
That could definitely work for me. I just really have to be done to get over to the other. So
it'll
that's
just be
We
fine.
would need a
Topic
hard
meeting.
stop at 6:30.
Yes, for
So
sure.
why don't we start? I'll make sure I can get, why don't we start our meeting that one time at 5:30?
Okay.
Does that work? And there'll be a single topic meeting, and then that's it. We vote on it, and then try to get it out that next week, on the 20th.
Yep.
Good. And Susie, you have your hand up.
I wanted to go back to the time frame. I would like to propose that we asked to be returned by February 11th.
Okay, if we get it out the week of say within 3 or 4 days after the 13th, that gives people 3 weeks. Is that enough time?
The 13th is a Thursday. So I don't think that's going to happen, Cheryl. I think it could, I'm not, we very likely will have to send this to a mailing house. So I will get that information before our next meeting on the 13th.
Becky, why would you have to,
About how.
Why
the
does it have to
timeline.
go?
why does it have to go to a mailing?
Why does it have to go to a mailing house?
A lot of
Why
work.
can't,
Because we no longer can do in-house folding parties to prepare the survey. Right now, we can't do that because because of COVID, we cannot gather in this building to do that.
And
It's a holiday on the
Okay.
17th.
And we have a mailing house that we've been using for the last year and a half for our newsletter. They, they're familiar with us and are very good.
Why don't we pick a memorable date, like do February 14th? Your Valentine to the town, or the 15th. I mean, I think memorable dates like will sort of stick with people. Oh, I got to get that in by Valentine's Day, or I got to get it in by the 15th.
I think that's a good idea.
Okay, well, I can go with the 14th. I'm going to stick
Susie?
it right in there.
Yeah, fine. I wonder if we could have a short meeting before the 13th that just approves what we've already gone through a lot. Because it's really, the changes are already here. I don't see that we're going to argue much. So we could just have approve the cover letter and the survey and get it out. And we could do that before the 13th.
So, okay, that is that's a suggestion. What does,
We might not have all the information we need yet though, Susie.
What other information will we need?
The mailing house and the timeline that impact the dates.
Yeah, but I mean, getting it approved may not have to wait till the 13th.
voting on it so that it's ready to go through that whole process, Becky?
And then also we could get
Sure,
it to the
and you can
mailing
do that
house
tonight, right?
ahead of the holiday, the MLK holiday.
So what does people's schedules look like? 11th, 12th?
The 10th?
The
Monday?
10th is emergency management. At 6.
I have meetings all of those nights.
All those nights.
All right.
It has to be, we have to have at least 48 hours notice so that it's posted. So we can't do it on Monday.
All right, so go back to the 13th.
Okay, so yeah, just be a quick meeting on the 13th.
So we're not allowed to vote for things by email, right?
Right,
No, we're not.
public meeting.
Okay.
Yeah. So the 13th, 5:30, real quick, one topic. Yes. Voting for the
5:30 or 5:45?
No, I'll say 5:30 because I'll make arrangements so I'm in front of the computer fast that day. Because you have to leave, Kristen. I'll adjust my schedule on the other end. Yeah.
Thank you.
And yeah, that one topic, and I'll get these out, the edits on the letter out within the next day or so.
And I'll do the same with the survey, just adding in the instructions.
Yeah.
Great.
2 sentences at the top.
And I'll try to format the letter so that it's got the thing on the back, so there's no other work to do there as well, the charge. Becky, can you send me the most updated charge so I can make sure I have it? I don't want to pull the wrong one.
Okay.
Susie.
I wonder, Melissa should check in with Becky about the way it gets addressed. It's folded and there has to be a blank side, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I'll check in to make sure that we fall in those, in that format. Thank you for
Yep.
the reminder, though. I appreciate it. Okay. Anything else? So let's punt the other things on our agenda to next, the 20th, with the minutes on the 20th, these minutes on the 20th, the budgets on the 20th. I'll have actually a couple more towns to add to that too, from what you guys have. Any other questions? Because I think we're all getting ready for either dinner or it's 8 o'clock. Susie.
I think I'm gonna revamp the minutes I did, 29th, to just be summary with no citations.
Thank you, Susie.
Okay, thank you, Susie. Mike, and then either Mary Jo or Melody. Mary Jo. Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to see us establish when we're going to discuss Mary Jo's email that she sent out today.
Let's see. Other budgets. The survey is on the 13th. This is the 20th. I guess we could do it on the 20th, since the 13th we're going to do the survey. If we're gonna.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
And-
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, okay. So I just wanted to apologize for my, what may have been a kind of emotional outburst. I just have found some aspects of our conversation, particularly the last meeting, a little bit distressing. So I apologize for that. I thought this meeting was, fine. But I do have some concerns, and I really want you all to know that I respect you and I care about your feelings. And it's hard for me to see as much conflict as sometimes I see. I'm just not used to that. So anyway, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mary Jo. Or we all have different opinions, and we all have our, it's hard sometimes to be in a group and have those things shared, and so thank you. We appreciate that, and we appreciate you being here. Let's see, is there any other questions before we adjourn for tonight, or comments? No, everybody's quiet. Okay. All right. Do I hear a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Oh, wow. Okay. Anyone want to second that?
Second.
All right. All in favor? We have to do roll call, so I'll go with the boxes I see first. Mike Finsky.
Finsky, aye.
Cheryl Hayden. Becky, you just moved everyone around. Cheryl,
But you can see them all.
there you go. Cheryl Hayden. Melody.
Chartier, aye.
Mary Jo.
Johnson, aye.
Kristen.
Burgess, aye.
And Makepeace O'Neill, aye.
And Mosier, aye.
And Mosier, aye. Thank you. Becky moved everyone. She unshared the screen. Everybody went whoop, all in a different order. Okay, so we will see everybody on the 13th at 5:30.
See ya.
Thank you all for attending.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Night, everybody.
Night.